Hello viewers, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will be taking you through the Kcse 2022 English PP1 revision, and for the purpose of this video, I will be specific to the final part of the paper, and that is under oral skills. This tests on the cardinal rules of etiquette, and there is a conversation here that the candidate is expected to fill in the blank spaces. So this is a conversation between a landlady and a first-year student in college who is trying to negotiate with the landlady on finding accommodation outside school. So the first part is blank, then followed by what the landlady says. And the landlady here makes this statement: "Good afternoon to you. What can I do for you?" So that means that the student here must have greeted the landlady, and that is what led the landlady to respond that way. So the student greets the landlady, "Good afternoon." Then one pointer of etiquette is referring to a male as a sir and a female as a madam. So good afternoon, madam. So this madam here is very important. Probably if it's not there, the candidate may lose the mark. After that, there is another space for the you to respond. And the landlady asks what she can do for the student here. Before we answer that, we now move to the other conversation by the landlady. And the landlady says, "So the caretaker has shown you 3 vacant flats. Which one did you choose?" So it means that the student must have had mentioned something about the caretaker showing them 3 vacant flats. So we could probably have a statement like, "The caretaker has shown me 3 vacant flats," and that is the first point where the candidate scores. Then an answer to the question, "What can I do for you?" which is, "I am interested in one of the flats." After that, we move to the other point where you speaks, and the speech here should be inspired by what the landlady has said here above, and asked the question, "Which one did you choose?" So before we rush to answer this, let's go down and see what the landlady says again. And that is, "Oh, I see. Many tenants like the corner flat." So it means that whatever the student will say to have chosen must have been inspired by this statement, that many tenants like the corner flat because of the balcony. So that is why here we have a probable response that I would love to have the corner flat. So the modal auxiliary would also adds something to politeness or etiquette. After that, the landlady asked this final question, that did the caretaker tell you it comes as an extra cost? Before we respond, let's move down. And here the landlady says, I am sorry, the rent is fixed. 10,000 is way below the rent of that flat. So at this point, the student must be making or trying to negotiate that he or she has 10,000 to part with. And that is why we have something, statement like, yes, he did. That is, at first, the student positively affirming that the caretaker did tell him that the corner flat comes at an extra cost. So the candidate first scores at this point where he or she affirms that the caretaker told him or her that the corner flat comes at an extra cost. Then the second response would be about this 10,000. So when the landlady says, I'm sorry, the rent is fixed, 10,000 is way below the rent for the flat. So the student must have negotiated and tried to tell the landlady that he or she has 10,000. And that is the statement we have here. But would you give it at a discount of 10,000? And that is what will lead to the statement by the landlady that 10,000 is way below the rent for that flat. Then, before we answer the second last part where the student speaks, let's look at what the landlady says. The landlady says the 3 years occupancy guarantee is good reason for a discount. So maybe at the point where the student speaks, he must have said something that he is going to stay in that flat for 3 or more years. But then again, the first statement he should make is that he should assert that the caretaker did tell him or her that the rent is fixed. And that is what we have here. The first point where the candidate scores is when he or she says, the caretaker said that, but I thought that you would consider the fact that I would stay there for 3 years. And that is where what the landlady says, that 3 years occupancy guarantee is good reason, that is where it comes in. So the landlady says 3 years occupancy guarantee is good reason for a discount. Just add 1,000 to your initial offer. Before we answer the last part where the student talks, let's look at the last speech by the landlady, where the landlady says you can move in as soon as you have paid the deposit and signed the agreement. To mean that the student must have asked to know when he or she can move in. So the first point, there are some cardinal rules of etiquette. When someone appreciates a kind gesture, or at the end of a conversation, we should always say thank you. When you want to excuse yourself, then say excuse me. When you want to address someone, if the person is a female, use madam. If it's a male, then use sir. So here, the student needs to first say, appreciate the landlady for the kindness by saying thank you very much. And that is the first point where the candidate scores. Then you can go ahead and ask this question, when can I move in? And that is where the landlady's answer comes in, that you can move in as soon as you have paid the deposit and signed the agreement. Viewers, that brings us to the end of the revision of that conversation. To those who are new here, kindly hit onto that subscribe button so that anytime we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. Again, to my subscribers, I continue to thank you so very much. Thank you for watching.